Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite up-and-coming healthcare stocks, which is Livongo. So Livongo is basically a telehealth company, and I'll say more about them in a bit. But I will say that healthcare as well as finance are two industries and sectors that are basically ripe for disruption, especially with how important data-driven decisions are. And healthcare is definitely no exception. So there's a lot of healthcare data that's being put to good use, I would say, with a lot of up and coming startups. Livongo is definitely more than just a startup, right? And so this is a perfect example of what can be done once data science is applied to basically data. And so now I'm going to talk about what Livongo actually does. And so this is their description on their website. So Livongo offers a whole person platform that empowers people with chronic conditions to live better and healthier lives. And so it's very vague, but basically what they do is they offer a platform which is hooked up with your smartphone, which is something that people have with them at all times anyway, as well as other devices to basically monitor health and take prevention before you go get treatment. And so this basically simulates like having a doctor in your house because you have devices that are basically monitoring your health, giving you reminders and tips to basically stay healthy. And it covers many different chronic diseases actually, which I'll get into in a second. So it's beginning with diabetes. So they started with diabetes, but it now includes hypertension, weight management, diabetes prevention. So before you actually have diabetes, you're in what's known as pre-diabetes. And so that's definitely covered as well as behavioral health. And so behavioral health spans basically anxiety and depression and things like that. So they monitor your sleep, exercise, and they have coaching to make sure that everything's all right. So their team of data scientists aggregate and interpret substantial amounts of health data and information to create actionable, personalized, and timely health signals. And so that's what I mean by they're putting this data to good use. So they're using AI to basically create a customizable plan for each of their customers in order to help them live healthier lives. The Livongo approach delivers better clinical and financial outcomes while creating a different and better experience for people with chronic conditions. And so two things here. Number one is they actually do save costs, right? Because healthcare providers spend a lot of money on these exact chronic conditions. And so if you have sort of like an in-house doctor living with you, right, which is this digital health service, then you basically don't have to spend as much as, to get treatment. So this is basically preventing things once they become a concern. And the other thing is that customer satisfaction is extremely high. So you'll see in a second what I mean by that. But basically, not only is customer retention high, so they keep their customers once they have them on board, there's a lot of customer satisfaction with this type of product. And so obviously they're using this data to make this product better and better and better, as is sort of the theme with data science actually, is that it gets better with iterations. And so now I want to go into a little bit more depth of what they actually do. So I mentioned they work with diabetes patients. And so what that means is they have a connected blood glucose meter, test strips, which are apparently very easy to refill according to their website, personalized insights, 24/7 expert support, shareable reports, and custom alerts. So you have a full 360-degree view of what your health is like and whether you should be taking action. Also weight management. So obesity is definitely rampant in the United States, and I don't see this changing, fortunately. And so Livongo has a lot of upside there. So they have a connected smart scale, automatic weight and steps tracking, healthy habits challenges, and expert coaching. So this is more than just a Fitbit or an Apple Watch counting your steps, basically. This is a little bit more comprehensive than that and very effective. Hypertension, so they have a connected blood pressure monitor, personalized insights, shareable reports, and expert coaching. Diabetes prevention, which is connected smart scale, automatic tracking for weight and steps, CDC approved lessons, and expert coaching. And lastly, behavioral health. So that's support for depression, anxiety, stress, sleep, and more. They also have interactive programs, tracking tools, and dedicated coaches. And so obviously this is very, very comprehensive. I doubt this is going to be where they stop. I'm sure there's going to be even more sort of chronic diseases that they end up working with. But even just looking at what's provided currently, like there's a lot of upside and there's a lot of demand for these types of services. I do have to bring up that they actually merged with another telehealth company, which is actually Teledog Health. and they merged to create the new standard in global healthcare delivery, access, and experience. And so we're going to take a look at some of the highlights right now. And so I would describe this merger as very strategic as well as very synergistic. So both of these companies are sort of similar, but they definitely complement each other very well. And together they create a very powerful company. So according to them, it creates the global leader in virtual care across primary, ambulatory, acute, complex, and chronic care. Without a doubt, that's true. They're definitely the global leader in virtual care at the moment. The new combined company basically leads the market and sets the pace for a rapidly evolving healthcare industry. I definitely think that this type of approach is actually not just pioneering healthcare, but definitely the future of healthcare, if I'm being honest. And before we take a look at Livongo Health's financials, we should talk about Teledog's financials first. So their annual revenue between 2015 and 2020, the CAGR for that revenue is actually 67%, which is actually pretty nuts. So you can obviously see how quickly the revenue has grown. And this is for just Teladoc. And as I mentioned, the client retention rate is actually pretty awesome with these types of services. So Teledog Health boasts over a 90% client retention rate, which I think is really impressive. Next, we're going to take a look at Livongo's total opportunity as well as addressable markets. So it's no secret that diabetes and hypertension are actually pretty rampant in the United States. And so these are just some of the numbers that they've found according to their research. So there's approximately 31.4 million people with diabetes that are covered by their employer or Medicare or Medicaid. And so that basically, if you multiply that by the average price per participant per year, which is about $900, then that equals about a $28.2 billion per year spend by these healthcare providers. And as far as people with hypertension, so there's about 40 million people with hypertension. And so you multiply that by the average price per participant per year. And so that's about $468, and that's about $18.5 billion per year in terms of total spend for these healthcare providers. And so you combine these, and that basically creates a $46.7 billion total opportunity. And so you'll see what I mean in a second by this. First, let's take a look at their subscription-based model. So first they sign clients, then they launch the enrollment, and then they do enrollment ramp up. You can obviously see very strong member growth. So basically, these are members in thousands ever since Q1 2018. So they started with about 69,000 members. And so you can obviously see right now it's about 410,000 members. Q2 year over year, so that's about 113% growth between Q2 of 2020 to Q2 2019. And this sort of triple digit growth is actually pretty common for Livongo, not just in members, but also revenue. And so this is actually what their revenue year over year growth rate is for Q2. So it's increased by about 125%. Now, one thing I really want to highlight is just take a look at these member numbers. So obviously they're growing very quickly, but this is members in thousands. Let's go back and take a look at how many people are actually dealing with these diseases. And so these are very, very large numbers. And so obviously Livongo has very high upside if that is the case. And so as I mentioned, I will talk about this, but basically the idea is to lower the cost for these healthcare providers, whether it's the employer, whether it's Medicare, or whether it's Medicaid. And what we see here is how studies show that Livongo saves their employers money. So there's about a 5.8% decrease in medical spending on average in the first year that employers actually start signing with Livongo. As I mentioned, I did want to talk about basically their member satisfaction. And so this is Livongo's member satisfaction compared to Netflix, which I think is really cool. This quote is actually pretty awesome. So Livongo is like having a buddy to walk you through this disease so you don't feel alone. For the first time in 30 years, I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I would not be spending Mother's Day this year without the help of Livongo. This meter is amazing. I love that I can send my log to a doctor with the press of a button. So obviously this is like pretty revolutionary stuff. Like the members actually really like it. And so, yeah, I think this is a product that has a lot of impact to change people's lives and save money at the same time. So it's basically a win-win. And so the real question is whether or not I own Livongo stock. And actually, this is not the first time I've talked about Livongo before. I just think they're an awesome company. I actually brought them up in my video, I think maybe 3 videos ago, which I'll just put in the description down below if you guys want to check that out. But yes, I am an investor in Livongo. I have some call options on Livongo, planning on adding more at some point. But I'm watching this one very closely, and I do love the stock. I love what they're doing. As I mentioned, I think healthcare is kind of a historically slow-moving industry. I did say that it was ripe for disruption, and it's obviously super cool that companies, just want to kind of make an impact and help everybody, right? As I mentioned, it's kind of a win-win for the patients as well as the people who are paying for the coverage. And so, yeah, I love stories like that. So that's why I like Livongo. Let me know what you guys think about them. With that, I will see you guys in the next video.